Hey, Tom. How you doing?
Good, good. What's up, Deemer?
What's up, guys?
Not much.
How we doing?
Good, good. Yourself?
Good.
Doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, yeah, we appreciate you coming on here, man.
How's everything in your guys' respective locations?
It's not too bad in Rochester. They've I think it's been right around just over 1,000 cases for a bit, and just kind of 20 or odd cases each day. So it's being contained pretty well up here. Nothing like downstate. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think things here are starting to maybe open up a little bit. They'll probably do it stage by stage. So we might see kind of the next stage next week, hopefully.
Yep.
What about out there?
It's been pretty manageable. Like I think there was like 2 or 3 days where it felt like a little eerie, like there was a big scramble for grocery store and stuff, and then I think people chilled out, and the weather definitely helps. It's been pretty consistently nice, so that I think like people can get outside and not feel cooped up, but not feel like they're on top of each other either.
mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Cool.
So you want to share your screen?
Yep. Let's see here. I really like this title that you guys came up with, The Art of the Redodge.
I'm not sure who that was. That wasn't me.
Yeah, it was Kevin Dugan.
Yeah,
I like it.
he's a bit of a poet.
Are we gonna get rocking, or you wait a minute or two, or?
No, you're good to go.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll introduce you. Obviously, we got Deemer class here. Went to Duke University. Plays for the PLL right now. One of the best players in the game. So we appreciate you taking your time trying to teach some of our Sweet Lax kids. And then Tom Harris, who's a new member of the Sweet Lax family out of Carolina. So appreciate you guys both coming on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Well, really excited to be on here. Pumped to talk about redodging, something that I enjoy sharing a lot. And, again, just excited to, be a resource, answer some questions and just kind of present a little bit. Basically the format that I had here, couple bullet points of emphasis, a couple film clips, one drill, from our training platform that we like our kids to work on, in terms of working on different redodges, and that's about it. So excited to dig in and kind of go through some details here. And for those who aren't familiar either, I coach the women's team at University of Southern California out here. So I'm living in Venice on the west side of LA, but grew up in Baltimore. So excited to be on with you guys. I'm going to play here, and you guys can stop me or pause me at any time as well if there's anything that sticks out. But all right, so getting into to redodging here, one thing I always like to mention before kind of going through the skills piece, but a couple keys that I like to focus on, in terms of training and playing lacrosse and stuff that I think applies beyond just the skill piece. But number one, I think I really try to impress upon passion and love for playing the game, but also for training. I think a lot of players and coaches put in a lot of time outside of the actual competition. So developing that love, for training and working on your game is really crucial. I like to talk about a lot having an open mind and and being curious, asking questions, being open to new ideas. I think that's something that's always benefited me in my game. And then attention for the details, again, understanding the why, how different movements or foot placement or, body language can set up a move. And then lastly, just being consistent, making sure that, we're able to do things on a consistent basis. How can we be effective, not just for one or two plays, but over the course of a game, over the course of a season. And I think that's the goal of a lot of players and teams is, that's also a key to just getting on the field more with your coaches is displaying that consistency. So, that's kind of a little background of some stuff that we like to think about, what we will cover, under the aspect of or concept of redodging, when and how to use a couple of variations. We'll use that through some film study. And then, like I said, we'll mention this 2-cone redodge drill that I really like to kind of break down and help you focus on the different movements. So I'll just let a couple clips here. Apologize if anything's choppy. I can always send over some of the clips after. But just gonna let a few play here, talk about it and stuff that we'll see throughout the presentation. But you kind of see us. We'll talk a lot about some different pump fakes, different changes of speeds. Just kind of see another angle here, ways that we can use our body posture to control slides and get an extra step. We have Tucker Dordovic here, really athletic dodger, but using a little hesitation, grandma move right here to get his hands free and stick a low and away shot. All right, it's not just always about beating your guy clean, but what can you do? Here's a little 2005 Hopkins clip. Right, cutting the guy off, bouncing away, a little pump fake, turning the corner. I think it's also just pretty cool to see, like, some of these high-level guys just doing kind of simple moves at the right time. A little underneath dodge off the wing, change of speed. And it's cool to see, these moves be kind of timeless and see guys do it from, multiple generations. We'll kind of get into some of that, but understanding how their posture, affects things. A little step back here from Jeff Teat, opening up his hips, which we'll talk about. But again, just kind of wanted to show you a couple clips, without talking too much, and then we'll kind of dig through. So a couple of things that we think about when it comes to redodging is, especially for younger players that are tuned in, obviously, we spend a lot of time thinking about dodging, our footwork, the ball on our stick, but we have to start to keep progressing to understanding the defense, how the defense is rotating, who is the hot defender, who's ready to slide, who is hedging, does that guy really want to slide or not? And I think having that thought process go through your head, and even if you have a possession where you don't score, what can you take away information-wise to then be able to execute and take advantage on the next possession or in the second half? So understanding and thinking about the slide packages. We really like to think and talk about our body language or our body posture. So understanding, when you're dodging hard, what does that look like? Are you lowering your shoulder? Are you kind of, is your head down a little bit? Are you dodging with your eyes up? How does a defender read your posture as a dodger? When you step away to feed and you get your eyes up and your hands, are up ready to make a feed, how does a defender react to that posture? And I think, it's stuff that is simple when we talk about it, but it's also simple to execute. And then when you have that understanding of how your posture comes off and how defenders might react on ball or off ball, that's huge. And then that allows us to then play the game within the game in terms of manipulating our body posture with our eyes, with our stick, our shoulders, our hips. And then we can start having fun with that matchup and controlling the slide guy. controlling the guy on ball. One thing that I've talked a lot about with some different guys is, maybe if you're a guy that often beats a guy clean, and you got a lot of speed, well, a defensive adjustment might be to slide early. Well, that might mean that you don't always want to beat a guy so clean every time. So maybe you maintain a step or two, but by changing your speeds, which is what we're about to talk about next, you can make it look like you haven't beat that guy, even though you're maintaining an advantage. So, your posture is really important. Changing speeds and creating space are two really key elements, in my opinion, of, redodging, whether it's a bounce move, a pump fake, or an MJ move. What are you doing with your speed? How are you hesitating? How are you creating space for your matchup to be able to get a guy to react to your move? So we talk about that a lot. We talk about controlling or freezing the slide, manipulating that guy who's, ready, to slide to you. And then the effect of your redodges, not only on the slide guy or the off-ball defender, but how does that affect the on-ball defender? How does that guy maybe relax because you make it look like you're done your dodge, and then now you can regain a step or an advantage because you're manipulating the defenders around you. So, that's kind of the elements that we really focus on when it comes to our redodge, and we try and teach. And then, we'll see some different clips and how we can implement that, within the game. So I wanted to show this clip, not as much because of an actual redodge. I think there's a little bit of change of speeds here, but it kind of just gives us an opportunity to where we can see where the slide's coming from, and we can see where, a defender, might be hedging. So right here, you can see, for your younger players, this is what a classic hedge tends to look like. You have a player here, looks like he might be mirroring the dodger or popping behind the dodge. But this is what we're looking at, as this dodger's getting underneath. They might take a step or 2 steps or 3 steps off of their man that they're covering to kind of show and make it look like they might slide. But you can see here, as it continues, that he doesn't want to commit. This on-ball defender is forcing this guy down the alley. Maybe his teammate can recover. Do you need to slide to this guy in this spot on the field? Some defenses might take their chances with lower angle alley shots, for example. But that's where getting underneath and kind of redodging and trying to make a move, an S dodge, or getting back under to finish in front, can be really effective, from those spots. So that clip was there, kind of to see where those slides and those hedges might look like, especially from a wing spot. Now, if we go forward here, this is a teammate of mine, Eric Scott, who I think is very fundamental with his redodging. Eric played at Yale. Yale does an awesome job, with their system and their player development and their skills. Again, you can kind of see very similar type of setup here. So again, wing dodge. All right. And so here, we have a little pass down, pick down from Jake Fricaro. So, if Eric takes top side, this defender, all right, is probably going to be responsible for a switch or communication with this redodge or this help. Oh. So I've had trouble with presentation, so I might just keep it in here. But basically, as Eric gets underneath, all right, now you can see this defender inside starting to hedge and possibly show. And what Eric does really well is as he kind of steps away, he creates some space from the defensive midi, but he also has his eyes up looking inside. And when you use your eyes, you can really make yourself look like a feeder and show the defense that you're a threat to get the ball out of your stick. And by slowing down or changing speeds, now you can start to manipulate, and he actually gets this defender to lunge and commit to try and check down on his hands. And then Eric reattacks the net. The slide is not in a good position now to slide and commit. and then Eric's able to finish and get back in front of the cage. It's a great example here of using that body posture and change his speed as he gets underneath. I'll play it for you one more time. Gets underneath, eyes up, little pump, tucks, gets back under, and love how he finishes in front of the net.
Yeah, I love that piece of having his eyes up, and you can tell that you can see that defender makes a little bit of a shuffle back to his man as soon as he sees his head's up and he's looking at him. It's just that little shuffle that gives him enough space to not commit to a slide and gives him the underneath space. So I really like that point of there's no reason that you should just be tunnel vision anytime in lacrosse, and that's a great example of it.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that's kind of cool to think about too is when you think about your eyes and you think about your pump fakes, you know, as soon as Eric looks across his body here, you know, you're getting defenders to kind of think about guys in this direction, right? By using your body length and looking across your body, you think about a quarterback in football who is trying to manipulate a safety. You know, by looking to one side of the field, if he can get that safety to shift over towards the sideline or towards the hashes, that might open up his receiver running a route on the other side of the field. So it's the same concept where if you just pump fake, but you're not using your eyes, you might defeat the purpose of your pump fake. But if you use your eyes and you use your hands, you really sell that move or that pull pass across your body, and that can get guys to shift or at least hesitate, which gives him enough time. So it's kind of having that understanding of how the defense might move. And then, like you said, the little shuffle, the spacing, you kind of put it together. Here's another great example of a pump fake. So this is this year, Army versus Syracuse, high wing dodge.
In that upset loss on Tuesday.
Pump
Here's
fake.
a score.
Gets a stick back to the inside. But again, same kind of example. You know, you're pushing the guy underneath down the alley. Little pump fake. And I wish I had an angle where we could like really see. But I'm going to play it through one more time. And I want you guys to watch the on-ball defender really relax when he throws this pump fake. So not only is he getting the slide, number 46, to freeze and hesitate and question his decision to slide, but he gets his initial on-ball defender to relax, thinking that he's done his dodge.
In that upset loss on Tuesday.
Right there, that little hesitation allows him to expand that gap, get his stick back to the middle, and now Syracuse doesn't have a guy in a slide position to execute and deter that dodge. So it's a great example there. Again, similar, that pump fake, that underneath spot. And I think it's also comes to the idea of understanding that defenses have to force players somewhere. You know, if you just try and play a guy straight up and let him go two ways and roll back and forth, it's hard to slide to. So a lot of defenses are predicated on a plan and forcing guys to spots where they might be weak-handed or might be low angle, or spots to where we know we can slide to as a defense. And so, you know, when you get to those type of situations, for example, like this, you know, wing dodge underneath, defense is counting on, you know, a little lower angle shot versus top side. And therefore, you know, that allows, you know, defenders to kind of funnel guys to a spot. But that's why it's so important to use those pump fakes to control those slides and allow you to get an advantage. So here is a nice example, you know, of a rocker move from a midfielder from Duke. Again, this isn't as much of controlling the slide as it is his first move doesn't really have a step. And then little rocker here gets that defender to have to stop and respect him rolling back to top side. So Garrett's a right-handed player. He would love to get the middle of the field. So now by using that rocker, that little fake rollback move, he gets that defensive midi to have to respect and keep him down that alley. But then it allows him to get an extra step to get his hands free, for a good shot down the alley here. Again, he has to change his speeds, right? And this rocker move, he uses a little more of a, like an attack style rocker where you kind of stop, you swing your leg back, and then you re-attack in the same direction. There's other rocker moves where I describe them as more of like a grandma or a bouncing rocker where you step away and kind of throw your shoulders. But this is a nice example here from Garrett. And that'll take us back to this similar clip from Tucker that we saw in the beginning. And Tucker's a really explosive dodger, but he does a great job of controlling his speed and being, purposeful with his movements. So coming out of the box here,
Just more efficient on offense.
I think there's some good things to kind of take away, from this clip. After his first move, the guy doesn't really have contact on his hands. But what I think is important to take away here is that by him doing this rocker move, I call it a grandma move in this situation, he really forces this slide defender to question whether his short stick defensive midi is actually beat. So right in this situation, all right, it looks like Hobart doesn't want to slide off the adjacent. You got a big threat at midi here. Maybe they're designating a slide from the crease. But as Tucker gets top side, this hesitation move makes this defender slower to make his slide and commit. This is a top midfielder in college lacrosse that's often getting his hands free, for unassisted goals. And so you wonder, why are you late to slide? And it's because of this redodge, this hesitation move. And what I like is he already had a little bit of a step, it looks like, or he could have turned the corner. But he just put on that extra, stutter step, hesitation move because he's manipulating the slide. And that's kind of high level. That's where you take the redodging to the next step. So then here, all right, so here's an example of a redodge that's less about controlling the slide and more of a reactionary move, more of a combination move. So, this is a game of mine against the Whip Snakes last year and making a swim move off of an initial split. So, again, kind of having understanding of, what a defender might be trying to take away in general, or kind of playing off of your tendencies, what a defender might be taking away. I'm a pretty, common left-handed player, take away top side, and kind of off my first move, I see him kind of commit and just react and make that swim move back underneath. And so I kind of classify some of these type of moves, as redodges as well, similar to a split and a rollback. They happen a little faster, and they happen, as more of a reaction versus a predetermined move. But it's kind of falls in the same bucket of having secondary moves if your first move isn't going to get your hands free. And I think that's kind of even going back to one of the key points I didn't mention is, redodging is an effective way to try and win your matchup without getting yourself outside of the flow of your offense. You can make some of these redodging moves, a pump fake, a quick rocker, a bounce, without having to sacrifice ball speed too much within the course of an offense. And I think that's always an important balance for a young player is knowing, okay, if I have a short stick on me, how many times am I going to work my matchup before I give up the ball to my teammate versus, someone at some point has to win a matchup and either draw a slide or score a goal, or else it's going to be hard to create offense. So kind of having that balance is really crucial. And so, that's something to kind of think about as you're making some of these redodges. But just kind of one more time, again, and I think the one reason I like showing this clip too is that, it speaks to going back to, always working and being curious, on your game. I think, I'm turning 27 in June. Last summer was the first time that I actually pulled off a swim move like this in a game. And so, I always say that, not to talk about myself, but more to just speak about, I've always just prided myself on wanting to learn and keep getting better. And so, if you can kind of take that approach of, growing, every off season from, maybe beginning of the season to the end, what's the move that you can add. And I think, within the course of redodging, so many different creative variations that you can take from other sports, and from other players that you can add on. So I think that's something that is certainly key when it comes to kind of having a growth mindset about your game. So here, just kind of getting into, some rollbacks. Another great example of a redodge or a secondary move where maybe you're not getting all the way to the spot that you want to get a shot from, but, you can roll back. So here's Brian Costabile, big-time player for Notre Dame. I like this clip for a couple reasons, but again, that redodge, he sees the guys overcommit, sees the slide coming, and he's able to roll back, change direction. And I really like how he uses his hands to lead him in the direction that he's turning. He does a great job of protecting his stick. I call it, bringing that top hand with you and leading it in the direction that you're rolling to really ensure that you're not hanging it. But again, really nice job, really nice finish, moving downhill to the net on the run. And that's where it comes back to, like we talked about early, having your eyes up when you're dodging, being ready to recognize slides. He sees the slide come from the crease. And instead of trying to split that double, he's simply using that rollback to change direction opposite of where the slide's coming from. And then he just happens to be able to get his hands free, get back downhill to the net. So, you think about, the different stuff we've shown so far. We've seen a bounce, a subtle step away to get your hands free. We've seen some pump fakes. We've seen rocker moves. Now we've got a reactionary split to a swim. Now we have, a rollback. And so now you can start to see how, if you think about your arsenal as an offensive player, what can you be doing to add to your split dodge or add to your split and roll? How can you control the defense?
Yeah, that the piece you said of his hands leading that roll is so crucial. We do just like triangle passing and so many just passing drills where you're rolling away and you over exaggerate that punch, but this is the reason right there. You see on that dodge, it's just second nature for him that as soon as he stops his feet, his hands are already in front of him going the other way. There's just no chance the defenders get a trail check on him. And it might feel a little bit silly, like in those passing drills, that you're really punching your hand out and then rolling away. But it's for that full speed type of roll that you just see right there, where his hands are already away from him. His feet are then catching up, and then he's exploding out of that roll. So it's a really, really important point for these young kids when they're trying to roll. Let your hands lead you, then your feet will follow after.
Yeah, such a great point. And the last thing too, if we go back and we look at it, I like the thought also of kind of like letting your body rotate around the stick. And in this position, when it comes to like getting a shot out quick, by him leading the hands and his body rotates, now his hands are already loaded so much quicker. So it's not, so while you get the great benefit of protecting your stick on the roll, now he's also getting the benefit of his hands being ready to shoot faster and being able to take advantage of being at a good spot on the field. So that goes back to that attention to detail piece. You know, it's so easy, you know, to do a drill like you're saying, your triangle passing drill, or, you know, we do some pull passing drills at USC that, you know, similar to what we did at Duke. It's so easy to just go through the motions as a player. But when you see the film, you see, like, this is quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament. You know, this is big stage to, you know, a big stage of the Final Four looming. You know, the teams that are winning and making plays are guys just doing simple things consistently and doing simple things well, you know, and executing. So think about that mindset. You know, it's not going to get much more complicated in terms of what you'll do. It's just who does it better and who does it more consistently in the big moments, I think, makes the difference. So here's kind of just playing off that. And I hope you young players are starting to see a little theme here. You know, these moves can all kind of play off of each other, you know, understanding how the defense is reacting. So, you know, for example, you see your rocker move where you kind of rocker and you keep attacking in that same direction. Well, the counter to that is being able to have an efficient rollback. Roll back, get your hands free, shoot on the run, shoot time and room. Put that in your arsenal, and then you can work those two moves off of each other. Well, now here's a double rollback. All right, so this is Owen Caputo from Duke, all right, working his matchup against a short stick. His first move is a little slower, doesn't really get his hands free, but he's worked his rollback. Again, he's still contested, but by using a double rollback, he gets himself to a better spot to shoot than maybe he would have off of his initial dodge. Maybe he works his matchup and gets a little closer to the net, protects his stick. And that's where, again, you see number 21 right there for Denver, right? Hedging adjacent, but no slide is committed.
That's a low angle shot that upward's going to be open.
Right, so this is where, as Owen's dodging here, what is he looking at? What are we looking for, right? So we have defender right here looking to slide, but maybe number 9, Sean Lowry, maybe he's not in a, you know, huge position to really be a threat right here, you know, from 15 or 16 yards. So maybe Owen, you know, can still work that matchup. You know, and I think it always depends on your offense a little bit. So that's why it's always important to ask those questions, because, you know, we might sit here and we might watch a clip and this might be, all right, this double rollback worked in Duke versus Denver. But there might be something that Duke scouted that says this is why we want our short sticks matchups to work these moves, work these rollbacks. But you might play a different team a week after where you have to handle your matchups differently from a scouting perspective. So that's why, as a player, the more that you guys can communicate with your coaches and ask questions about what you're working on and how it fits into your offense, you're going to have better success, because you're going to have a better understanding of how you're trying to attack on the field and why things work. So right now we're seeing the context of just the individual skill and the moves, but there's also a lot that goes around into it off the ball and from a scouting perspective, and that's where the IQ piece really comes into play. So show it one more time here.
See the ball very easily.
Good footwork.
This one gets
Nice lower angle finish. Yeah, working the matchup.
What a start.
Nothing earth-shattering in terms of, you know, technique but just fundamental, dodging with confidence. That kind of takes me to this next clip, all right, from that same Duke Notre Dame game. Another double rollback, but in the middle of the field. All right, and what I like about this for you young players is when you dodge and you redodge, it doesn't always have to be to score a goal or make an assist. I know a lot of college coaches. I know ours did in college. I know I do at USC. We really value simple plays as offensive players. We call them singles. So instead of trying to always hit home runs, we like to talk about hitting singles. And so here, Riley Walsh does a great job of working a double rollback. He ends up drawing a slide, but he hits that simple adjacent single pass and allows CJ Carpenter. So right here, instead of Walsh trying to feed where the slide came from in a tight space, or maybe a player who, isn't like a super crafty inside finisher that catches everything, maybe we can set our team up for success by just hitting an easy adjacent pass. And that allows the feeder here, look how free his hands are. He has vision of the one more pass down to the pipe. He can look inside. He can look through, all while his hands are free. And that's all product of the Dodger, who uses this double rollback, but then is not afraid to make the easy pass. One that, again, in lacrosse, hockey assists, which this is, are not statted officially yet. So you're not going to show up in your county newspaper. You're not going to show up in the ESPN stat sheet, right? But your team gets a goal on the board, and your coaches are going to recognize that you have to start that party and initiate that offense. Then really nice offside high placement. But again, you're kind of just trying to show you guys a progression here of how our moves can work together. See if we have anything in the chat. Then last one here before our drill. So this is a really nice example of a step back redodge. All right. And so what I really like to think about when it comes to a step back is swiveling open your hips. It's a really nice change of speed. He bounces to create space. All right. So again, right here, here's a look at a possible sliding defender. Notice Teet's eyes are up. He's got a short stick matchup. So, again, one of the best attackmen in the world. All right, he's ready to work that matchup, but he's manipulating the slides. Right, he sees a hedge start to come. And now, again, so right here, shoulders are turned. Right, he's got his stick kind of face dodged across his face. And I call it a closed position. But watches how he bounces. He creates space from number 19, but then he opens up his hips. All right, from this position, right now, especially if you think about, Canadians or strong one-handed players, he can do a lot from this position. He's got his hands up. He could step back and shoot it. He could feed the crease or feed a teammate. He could change direction and try and get back to the top side, right? And by using his posture and understanding how that works, he might shoot this ball. He might not know yet, but because he's poised and experienced, right, he realizes that he can get this guy on a redodge underneath. And watch how number 19 lunges out, and then he's able to tuck his stick back under. So he's able to step back, open up his hips, show his stick, and then face dodge back underneath, but still finish with his stick back to the middle to improve his angle. Really slick finish, but again, just having great understanding and body control, understanding the slide, understanding the on-ball defender, and that's a nice example of how your body posture can affect not only the slides around you, but also the guy covering you on ball.
Yeah, those are just before you get to the drill, just a couple of takeaways I have. The biggest thing that you see in all of those is the change of speed aspect that you were talking about. It's so many, we've got some young players on here that just kind of get the ball in that dodging spot and just run and just try to go and beat the guy with speed. And especially as you're trying to gain some athleticism at the youth level, you're not exactly burners yet. We're still trying to kind of figure out our bodies and our athleticism. So the change of speed is so crucial to beating guys at every single level. And as you get more athleticism, it'll get a lot better. But you see in all of these dodges, these guys are changing their speed at some point of the dodge. So you can't just run in a straight line and expect to get a goal, or an easy slide's going to come. So that change of speed aspect is so important. And the other point is you don't see any of these guys dodging big slides, really. Slides right to their face and try to run through a slide. So when we're talking about redodging, it's not just dodging a slide that's coming right to your face and trying to run through that slide. There's a couple. The rollback was one where he did dodge a slide, but he's kind of going away from where the slide was coming from. So all of these are kind of manipulating the slide, not necessarily dodging the slide. So I hope some of these kids are coming on here thinking, oh, this is our chance to just really dodge and dodge and dodge and not pass the ball. We still want to be able to dodge, draw a slide, and move it. But in these situations, the slide didn't come because of the manipulation. So it's just a couple keys that I think takeaways.
Yeah, Deemer, I was going to ask that same thing. Like, is there a time where you want to dodge that slide, or do you usually typically just want to teach your player to, if that slide is coming, you didn't freeze it or anything, it is coming, you want to move the ball?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I mean, that Costabile clip, I think, was a little unique in that if you go back and look at that defender, he actually got his long pole in front. So it kind of lent itself to him rolling back away from where the slide's coming from. A lot of times, like if you're an on-ball defender that kind of gets beat by a step or two, you want to stay on the back hip so that you can push the guy into where the slide is going to meet. So that's why it makes it so hard to dodge slides. And if you try to, you often get into trouble as an offensive player. I think the key is that, simple things like we would say, like getting out with your feet when you go to move the ball, or these manipulations, they actually help you pull the slide and the on-ball defender sometimes away from the rest of the defense. So it makes their recovery longer. And so that's where maybe you don't want to dodge the slide, but if you can almost hold on to the ball and drag that, slide and defender for an extra step away from where you're attacking, now when you move it, now it might be a harder slide or harder recovery rather, to get back involved. So that's kind of one way and that's where the change of speeds and that's where the manipulation of your posture can kind of help aid you in. So you can see that guy coming, but if you just throw it right away, sometimes it might make for an easy recovery. But if you can take an extra step or two, make that guy really commit, and then step away and throw it, now you're really starting to control the ball movement and make guys on the backside of your team able to attack approaches with less help defense.
Like it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is just a common kind of debate back and forth about, hey, we've got to move the ball, we've got to dodge, draw aside, and move it. Sometimes that's possession clock focus, different things like that. So it's great questions. Then lastly, guys, this is a 2-cone drill that I really like, and we practice redodging in a lot of different ways, but this is one I thought you guys could try out, while you're quarantining or you're home alone, or you could do it on the basketball court if some of you guys play basketball. But you simply set up cones where we simply want to separate, and you work on separating from the inside cone to the outside cone. And while you're doing that, right, you want to be explosive, right? You get in this stance here. You can change the distance of the cones, right? But it's kind of just to give you that mindset of creating that space. And then from cone to cone, what are you doing in that period? How are you manipulating your speed? Are you throwing a pump fake? Are you working on a step back move? Right, I'm trying to step back. There's the pump fake. We'll swing the hips open. Just a chance for you guys to kind of break down the larger move on the field, work on the kind of mechanics of it, and then you can bring it back to the bigger picture where you could split dodge, bounce, use your redodge and reattack for a shot. So you could do this without a stick. You can add a stick back into it. You could finish with a shot. You could add a dodge prior. Just a simple way to kind of break down and work on our different redodge mechanics and get really comfortable with a couple moves. And again, you don't have to be great at all 5 or 6 at one time. Pick 1 or 2 that you like. So you saw from the presentation or that you guys have been working on in other virtual sessions or over the course of the year in practice, and then just keep trying to incorporate and add to your game over time. So that's one I think you guys can take with you. And that pretty much, wraps up, from my end. I put, my Instagram stuff, if you guys want to check out on Instagram, First Class Lacrosse or 22 Classy, and just our website, for stuff. We put a lot on our online training platform, and hope you guys walk away with a couple good tips and pointers to kind of keep focusing on.
Yeah, I just think one question we had is if you could go to the first slide again for the keys.
Yeah.
Chat there, maybe end it.
So, yeah, right here. So, slide location, posture, change speeds, create space. And then understand.
That's all good stuff. I like finishing with that. Just the creating space and separation is what it just puts those defenders in an uncomfortable position. So that's when you see the defenders lunge at you or just kind of try to maybe throw a stick check, things like that. So trying to get to good places on the field and then creating separation from there will go a long way. You can't do this way outside the box or anything like that. You got to try to get to these uncomfortable areas that puts the defense kind of on edge, and then that's when you can kind of redodge and bounce out and just really try to play with guys. So, no, Deemer, thank you a ton. This was really, really helpful, and we'll be sure to kind of try to send guys your way. I think this is some pretty good information here, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Deemer.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. Wish everyone's the best, stays safe and stays healthy, and look forward to seeing everyone back on the field, whenever that is. So stay strong, and we're all here for you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.